our plans today changed because we were planning on culling some of the rabbits because we have way too many for what we need, and right now we are feeding way more rabbits than we need to be, and we need to start filling the freezer, which, you know, was the big purpose for what we have these particular rabbits for. So that was our plan. I went into work early, got off early because it's the day before a federal holiday weekend, and usually they give us an hour early release, which they did today. So I was able to pick up the kiddos, and we ended up having to change those plans because the weather was seeming to not cooperate. All we've experienced thus far, however, have been sprinkles, but I ran into several patches of heavy rain on the way home, and there was even some rain between here and the town that's next to us, and we didn't want to be in the middle of processing rabbits when a big storm hit. Was that fun, Tipper? She's rolling in the grass. Anyway, so the main point to this video and what the title is going to be about is this particular flower. Now, I think I have shown this flower before. Part of the reason I like it so much is it looks very lily-like or even iris-like. That's the way the leaves are. They're kind of waxy, and I love the stripes on them. But the cool thing about these is they pop up super quick. So we had a rain on either Monday or Tuesday, and today all of a sudden I noticed these flowers. And these flowers are really cool because they tend to pop up overnight, and oftentimes it seems after a good rain. And I don't know if you can see it in the video here, but there are just these yellow flowers that have popped up all over our front pasture. Here are a cluster of these flowers, and if you notice, they're pretty much just stalk and flower. There's not really a leaf to them. They've got this little thing up top, but that's it. The rest of it is just the tube, kind of like a daffodil, and then the top. So a daffodil is another description of what they look like. Very similar, probably more so than lily or iris like I was mentioning earlier. So once again, I go to my favorite flower identification book, Wildflowers of Texas, and I think it's this one, which Gaeta Ajilski says is copper lily. So let's take one of these for a second and compare it. Yep, it's got the pointed tips, it's got the center that matches, and it has the stripes like are shown here. And then the underside has kind of that reddish color. So when we look at the description over here, there's the Latin name. It's in the lily family, and it says bloom period June through November. The really cool thing is that it mentions down here in the notes, flowering after the rains of summer and fall, which is exactly when these tend to bloom, right after rains during the late spring, early summer, and then in the fall. So it doesn't like the extreme heat, it likes cooler weather, but it can tolerate a little bit of warmth because it's probably in the 80s right now. It's cooled off a bit. We're not in the 90s or 100s today. So that's been really pleasant for the day. And it mentions the habitat where it's typically growing, and then it also describes the flower. Again, I mentioned that it has that reddish, orangish brown kind of tint underneath the petals. And here it mentions golden or orange yellow, sometimes tinged reddish brown on the outer surface, which I take to be undersurface. They are usually in a basal slender tube, which we already identified, looks kind of like a daffodil. And then the flowers are solitary. And that's what these are. There's only one flower per stalk. So I would be willing to bet good money. So I would say I'm 95% sure that that is the flower that we are talking about. And I would be hard pressed to find the name of this plant anywhere else. I've tried looking online in the past, and honestly, there are just too many yellow wildflowers to try to describe it and narrow it down. So even if you're not able to find the exact flower, because I actually saw another flower in this book while I was in the house that I thought might possibly be similar, but by deductive reasoning, I figured this one right here was probably the one. But if I were still debating between the two, this book would at least give me an idea of two names to look up to identify a particular flower I'm seeing. Now, this one is also neat because it gives other names that the flower often goes by. So this particular one, once again in the notes, says that it's also called staggergrass and Texas Adamasco lily. And it also mentions a little bit of the history that they thought it was endemic to Texas, so native to Texas. But now they're thinking that there were actually bulbs that were brought into Texas and Louisiana from South America by Spanish missionaries in the late 1700s. So that's all information that would be difficult to find just by an online search. But through this particular book, it makes it much, much easier. So if you have an interest in this Wildflowers of Texas book, make sure to check the link below. In the comments below, we have a link to our Amazon store. And if you happen, hi McGruff, sweetie. If you happen to purchase through that link, it'll help us out without costing you anything more. I think that's about all I have for the day. I hope you'll have a blessed one and have fun identifying those wildflowers. Talk to y'all again soon. Thanks for joining us here at Cooker Gehoofd. This is Simber signing off.
For watching the video, push the thumbs up to like the video. Also hit that subscribe button, also the bell, so that you can get notifications when our videos come out.
Check us out on our social media pages too. The links are below. Bye y'all.
Bye.